Hello all and welcome to Conversations on Leadership, podcast by Academy Wales. This episode is recorded live at the Summer School 2026 and my guest for this episode is Dr. Lindsay Cordery-Bruce. Welcome.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, I'm delighted to be here.
I think it'd be really nice for our audience if they just had a little bit of info about yourself, your background and what you do, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, sure, my background is voluntary and community sector all the way through. So I am a product of voluntary and community sector services. I've been helped and supported to overcome many challenges in life. I came to specialise in the treatment and management of addictions, so most of my career has been around supporting people with substance use to find recovery. I have done quite a lot of work with homelessness. I used to run the biggest homelessness charity in Wales before I moved over to Wales Council for Voluntary Action. So now I get to represent and speak on behalf of all the charity and community organisations in Wales. We manage the relationship between the sector and government. Mm-hmm. And essentially I get to be the fairy godmother of volunteering for Wales, which I think is just the best job title I could ask for.
That's great. You talk quite openly about your background, your experiences. I was wondering, how much do you think that has shaped your approach to leadership?
Oh, completely. I was a homeless 16-year-old and I wasn't expected to really do anything or achieve anything. I think I've been really lucky with the opportunities that I've had, and I've been really lucky to have the support that I've had. And what I want now is for people who are facing challenges to have the same things that I was able to access so that they can realise their potential as well.
Looking then at people in similar situations, what would be kind of the one general piece of advice that you could give to those people?
Oh, to people facing challenges, I think it's to embrace your own badassery and to understand that actually the skills needed to face challenges such as addiction, homelessness, all of those things, it's the same skills that you need to be successful in leadership. So one of the key things that I was involved in on the substance misuse scene is you think, right, what are my needs? What are my resources? And then how do I put those two things together? Actually, that's exactly what a chief executive does. Managing your relationships, managing your supply chain, all of those things. And I think when people go through challenges, they're written off too early, when actually our shared trauma is our common humanity. Like, everybody can connect on a level where they've had a messy breakup or an illness, or we've all been through stuff that's happened. And actually that's not just something that happens to you. You can take that learning and you can use it.
Were there ever any examples of other kind of the more traditional leaders where you had pushback or kind of negative experiences?
Yeah, very much so. I've been taught more by former leaders about what the leader I don't want to be, more so than I have been talked about the leader I do want to be. So yeah, I was quite determined quite early on that I wasn't going to be weird about sharing power, because that's a real toxicity in leadership, and I think it undermines leadership. And what we're trying to do, we need to bring people with us. I mean, sometimes you need to guide, depending on the developmental stage of your team, more than others. But actually, I think the willingness to share power and the willingness to be vulnerable together, I think that unlocks the power of leadership. Because it's not just leadership, it's followership. And if nobody's coming with you, then you're not going to achieve what you're trying to do.
And how do you persuade people to come with you?
I use my northern charm. No, that's a really hard question, actually. I think some of it is just listen to what people are telling you, and then help them be empowered. I'm not one of these leaders that likes to take over. I like to say, right, what is it that we want to do? Like, how do we want the world to be different? And then how do you mobilise the people around you, get out of the way, and then celebrate them when they're finished?
So you've led organisations working in some of society's toughest areas. What have you learned about leading people when there is no simple solution?
I think hanging on to hope with both hands is not just a mindset, but it's a skill. And I think when I ran the homeless charity, I'd have deaths in my inbox every Monday morning, and you really see the rough end of life. And when you're seeing people sort of go through the cycle again and again and again, like this revolving door situation, it does hurt you. And I think maybe I'd reached my limit. I've done like 35 years in one form or another in substance misuse and homelessness. And I think now I'm in a place where my hope is about creating an environment for all of the third sector organisations to thrive. What I love most about my role is that I don't have to pick one, I don't have to pick a cause. It's like, how can I move things out of the way of those organisations so that they can be awesome in their communities? And what chess pieces do I need to help move in government to create a scene for that to happen?
You put a lot of emphasis on the importance of volunteering. And you also talk about the difference between the reality and the perception of volunteering. I was wondering if you could just say a little bit on that, how important you feel volunteering is.
Yeah, it's timely actually, because there's a new vision for volunteering in Wales that we're leading together with Welsh Government. I think volunteering will save the world. I think it always has. I think when the chips are down, volunteers step up, and actually before services, people just helped each other. I was a part of an expert group to advise the incoming government about what can be done about social cohesion in Wales. And we had some nerds do like a desktop review of the global evidence base. And guess what had the strongest evidence base for bringing communities together? Volunteering all the way through. People find their role in their community, they find their connections with their community, they find a sense of purpose. And actually we've seen some parts of Wales where that's starting to erode. And I think volunteering is one of the tickets out of the division that we've seen in our communities.
So you mentioned there then the data is very clear on the importance. How do you get that message to the public?
Well, there's a number of different ways that we're looking at doing that. One of the things that we're working on is calling for the government to legislate around how we nurture and develop the voluntary and community sector. But I don't think this sector's come into its power yet. I think we've always just been sort of quietly saving the world in the background. But actually I saw a really powerful video recently from our County Voluntary Council in Merthyr Tydfil. So they're the smallest county voluntary council. We act as the national partner, and then all the county voluntary councils are the local partners. Together we're called Third Sector Support Wales. And they created a video called What Would Happen If We Weren't There? And it's one of the most powerful things I've ever seen. And it's not just about people wouldn't be able to be in their choir, or people wouldn't be able to get to their scout group, and all of that sort of stuff. Actually, we're talking about hospice care. Yeah. We're talking about independent living. We're talking about people getting to their cancer appointments. Like, if you look at the role that we have, particularly in areas involving safeguarding, the power of this sector is phenomenal. And I do think it's the secret weapon. It's the secret weapon of solving the problems of Wales.
What leadership qualities do you think are going to be the most important in the next, let's say, decade?
In the next decade, I think we're going to have a rough time. I think we need to keep our hope, but acknowledge that it's not going to be easy. And I think the resilience of leaders and how we bring leaders together so that they don't feel isolated while we're trying to navigate this uncertainty and the global challenges that we're facing. I think they're going to be real key leadership qualities. It's a really lonely job sometimes, and I think when you're going through it with like trying to save an organisation from closing, or you're trying to bring in big changes in your organisation, it can feel like you're the only one doing it, and it can feel like all eyes on you. But I think through the power of peer support, we can bring leaders together. Actually, you could be the best CEO in the universe. You would still be finding it challenging, just because of the environment that's around you. So I think if we can draw resilience from each other, we're gonna need it, and we need to lean on each other.
We talk about all these challenges and the pressures. How do you cope with that personally?
Honestly, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't. It's about doing what you can and trying to create what you can with what you've got. And I think it's about accepting that you can't be the badass leader all the time, because we're human. So I think having your safety vessels and your safety outlets is really, really important. For me, that's volunteering with animals. For me, that's weightlifting. You've got to know where your outlets are, because we're going to need them. I think leaders are under too much pressure to just be the public face, to be the, everyone follow me, it's fine. Sometimes it ain't fine. It's... The resilience lies in getting back up again. And
finally then, what would be one piece of advice for the summer school delegates that you'd give them to take away with them back to their organisation?
I would say plan in time to utilise what you've learned. because I think that's where it falls down. People go to really interesting sessions and they learn loads and then they just go straight back into the day-to-day. You have to plan to mobilise that and to synthesise what you've learned to apply it. So, and you can feel guilty about doing that when you've had 4 days out the office. You're like, oh, lucky me, I've had 4 days out the office. It doesn't stop here. So I'd say, like, be really, really stubborn and insistent about planning to use what you've learned and what you've heard, and to keep your connections. Like, this is quite a special group this year, I think. I've just been sat back watching and people are really connecting, and that's exactly what we need across portfolios and across sectors.
Lindsay, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been thought-provoking. I hope you've enjoyed the experience with us.
Very much so. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Diolch.
Mae un podlediad sgwrsiau ar arweinyddiaeth ar gael trwy ein gwefan. Mae'r hawlfraint y podlediad yma yn cael ei gadw gan Llywodraeth Cymru. Our Conversations on Leadership podcast is available through our website. Copyright of this podcast is held by the Welsh Government.